Happy Friday, everyone. We've made it through our first week of the Outsiders unit, and we've read chapters 1 and 2 so far. Today, we're going to be reading another short chapter, so we're going to be reading all of chapter 3 today. And I want you to think back to yesterday's lesson when you worked on your movie poster project. What is one character you chose to cast, and who did you choose to play the part? I want you to email me the answer to this question to let me know that you're watching the video. If you haven't completed the assignment yet for yesterday, do that first before completing the stuff for today. All right, let's get started. So let's review what we've read so far in chapters 1 and 2, specifically focusing on chapter 2. So who were Johnny and Ponyboy hanging out with at the end of chapter 2? Well, we met Cherry and Marcia, who are two Soch girls who they met at the drive-in. And why were they hanging out with them? Well, Johnny and Ponyboy were nice to them at the drive-in when their boyfriends were being jerks. And so they ended up talking with them, sitting with them, and walking away with them and learning more about their lives. Some key things that stood out to us in chapter 2, we learned more about Johnny's story of when he was jumped by the Soches. We also learned that Cherry and Ponyboy have a lot in common, even though they have very different life experiences. So based off of that information, think about what do you think is going to happen next now that we know about Cherry, we know about Marcia, and we've seen this little coming together between Gracers and Soches. And then think about what themes, remember themes are big idea messages that authors are trying to show, have you noticed so far in this book? So we talked about earlier on in this week about some common themes. What is a theme that you think is being shown? At this point in the story for me, I think that we're seeing a lot of kids becoming adults through hard situations. I think that we're seeing a lot of like friendships emerge. And where were they in chapter 2? Well, they started out at the drive-in, and that's kind of a big focal setting of chapter 2. And what stood out most about this setting? Well, we saw that there was a great divide between Gracers and Soches. So let's find out what's going to happen in chapter 3. Today we're going to be working on themes, and remember a theme is a literary work. A theme of a literary work is the main message that the author wants to communicate to a reader. Authors carefully develop the themes in their writing through characters, setting, plot, and imagery. So as we read fiction, we're going to come across many themes that are universal. A universal theme just means that it appears in any kind and many kinds of stories from all time periods and all around the world. They may appear in novels, stories, myths, films, and many other forms, genres, and mediums of fiction. So some common universal themes that you may run into are change often battles with tradition, or power can corrupt even the best of people, or money cannot buy happiness, or finding your purpose is part of life's journey. All of those themes are things that we've seen in many different books, movies, poems, all that jazz. Now, let's review the skill of summarizing. We've done this a couple times, and we're going to keep doing this in order to retain what's going on in our chapters. So remember, a summary is a shortened version of the original text, and it should be written in the same order without an opinion and should include the most important information from the original text. But we got to make sure that we're paraphrasing, so we're putting things in our own words. We're not just stating exactly what the text says. So some things to think about when you're summarizing are, what are the main ideas? What is repeated or emphasized? What are some of the most important details necessary for supporting the ideas? What are some important words that come up? And what is information is not necessary? So think about small details that may not come up again. Those are things you might not want to include in your summary. So today you're going to be working on the chapter 3 response. So the questions that you will be working through are, the first one is pick a quote you like and explain why you picked it. Make sure to put the page number for that one. You're going to, again, write a vocab word you didn't understand, and you're going to tell me what the definition of it based on the text way that it was used. So don't tell me the dictionary.com definition. Tell me about how S.E. Hinton uses the word in a sentence. You're also going to explain how life was different during the late 50s and early 60s and how that's different from our life now. So think about, what do the characters do? What do they say? What are they into? And how is that different from your life now? And then finally, you're going to summarize the chapter with at least 5 sentences. So practice what we just talked about when it comes to summarizing. So right now you're going to read chapter 3, go to Google Classroom, and you are going to open up the chapter response that is right here. The audio is right here for chapter 3, and the text is right here. Make sure you're following along in the text as you're listening. Again, you do not have to use the audio if you do not want to, if you'd rather just read on your own. But by the end of today, the chapter 3 response needs to be turned in. Let me know if you have any questions. Just type in a question or email me, and I can best help you out that way. All right, have fun with chapter 3, and on Monday, we will read chapter 4. Bye, everyone.